You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio Channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Hello there. Welcome to WGSN-DB Digital Broadcasting, Going Solo Network. You're listening to the Business Showcase. I'm your host today, Cece Schatz, author, radio personality, and CEO of My Friends Connect. Hello, this is Cece with Going Solo. You are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And today we have with us a terrific guest, Haley Kaplan, and she is a cyber privacy expert. She really shares a great deal of tips and creating a safe online dating relationships in her blog that she has. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here today.
Yes, it's great having you. We are so involved right now with social media, the internet, all that we do online dating. And so how did you get into being a cyber privacy expert?
I fell into it by mistake. I was taking some classes at UCLA, and in a social media class, we had an assignment to create a blog. And I was petrified. I thought, I am very nervous to have something online that's going to live there forever. What happens if I say the wrong thing? What happens if somebody interacts with it in the wrong way? And I had told the instructor that I was not going to participate on that assignment. I'd create a blog, but I would never take it live. I wasn't comfortable. Anyway, I had no idea what content my blog would be on. And the night before the assignment was due, I was sitting up there, as many of us do, on Facebook, wasting time. And my nephew, who was 6 months, I saw a photograph that the mom had emailed me, and I decided to post it. And it was the most adorable photo of him lying on a blanket with his little tushy sticking out, and I posted it on Facebook. And then I went to bed with no idea in mind of what my assignment was going to turn into for school. And my brother called me first thing in the morning, screaming at me, "How dare you post my naked son's tushy on social media? If I had wanted it there, I would have put it myself. I don't want pedophiles leering at him." And I was very taken aback, and I was very lucky that I had posted it. It was 2 in the morning when I had posted it. So nobody had commented on it, and nobody had seen it yet. And it was somewhere in the vicinity of 6 a.m. when he called me. So I deleted it, no harm, no foul. And then when I went back to bed, lying there, feeling shamed and really uncomfortable about the way he had yelled at me, I started to think about some other instances that I personally had experienced where I had made certain mistakes with social media that had come back to haunt me. And at that exact moment, my idea was born. I would create a blog dealing with problems and solutions relating to social media and how to prevent problems, and how other people could benefit from the mistakes that I had made and other people had made. And that was the start of privacy, cybersecurity, and What is Privacy was born.
That's marvelous, because it is so important. We don't realize what we so innocently put out there, how it can come back. And I know I'm all over the place, and so I know many times I've thought to myself, oh, what are you doing? But my mission is to help people, so I try to get beyond myself and think about that. But we do, as individuals, have to be very careful about what we post, and be considerate of other people when we're posting, that we show them in a good light. I know my son just recently on the holiday here, we were talking about a family member had taken a video without his knowledge of him and posted it on Facebook, and he was like so set back to see this video of himself, and he was quite upset over it. And not that the content was bad or anything, just that he felt his privacy was invaded.
I have a story if you want to hear it.
No, I would love to. Yes, definitely.
A Facebook friend of mine, who is also someone I know from our kids being in school together, got herself in exactly one of those situations. So I logged onto Facebook a couple nights ago, and the first thing that comes up in my feed is this woman who's an attorney and very well known in the community is holding a massive dildo, and she's smiling. And this picture is showing up in my feed, and I thought, wow, this is really not okay. I write a lot of articles about kids being careful, and she's got impressionable kids. They're in their 20s, but still, it's not really appropriate for a mom to have that sort of a picture on Facebook. So I thought about it. I didn't want to offend her, and I decided that if I was any kind of friend, I was going to give her a heads up it wasn't okay. And it was very interesting to find out what the circumstance was. She went to a party where they had a whole bunch of unusual gifts given. And so there she was with the gift that was given to her sort of as a gag gift. And someone else had posted the picture. And she was uncomfortable when she saw it, but she figured once it's on Facebook forever. So she had lost sleep over this photograph, but hadn't done anything about it. And when I called her, I explained, well, actually, that's not true. Now, you can't stop somebody from sharing it as much as they want. In fact, someone else had shared that exact same photo to me in a private message saying, look at this. You know, this is crazy to have this on Facebook. When you actually delete a picture, it will delete it from all of those areas. So if someone that posts it, and it has to be the person that posted, remove it, it will go out of the feed. It will also disappear from the private message. What you can't stop is someone taking a screenshot of it or posting it in a different way, not from originally sharing it. So I took a screenshot so that I could show her if I needed it. So now I'm in possession of the screenshot. I can go to town with the screenshot. But anyway, she approached the person who was very understanding and removed the picture instantly, and now there's no sign of it 2 days later. But it was interesting that an adult thought it was okay to post this picture that really wasn't showing her in a flattering light on social media, where all the people in the community had been seeing this, had been commenting. And it was interesting that respectable people had gotten quite pornographic in their responses to this picture in fun, without realizing how bad it actually makes them all look. It's right. Okay to have that kind of private joke and to participate in it, but it doesn't have to be for people that don't know you.
For instance, if they were at that circumstance, at that party, that would have been very funny, but when you post it outside of the party, then no one really gets what that was all about. So the content of it was changed. It switched into something else. And it went from being, it's like my kids when they were little, they would look at a naked statue, right? And I would say that is art. Look at the lines, the molding, the sculpture. Look at that how it was formed. It's a beautiful thing. But if you're looking at the naked body and you're thinking all these things, then you're taking it out of context of what it is. And so,
out of context, right?
Yeah. And so that is what social media does sometimes. And so we have to be very careful. And I love the tip that you said about the picture. I didn't realize that you take a screenshot of it, then it's always there forever. So that's something to really, really think about, isn't it? But when we do post a picture that
it is. You know, if I was in that situation, and I have been in situations where there's stuff like that that's fun and intended to be harmless, I would not allow a picture of it. I would not take a picture of it. If I absolutely needed a photograph of it for whatever reason, I would hand them my phone or my camera. But there is no way I would trust anyone else, because apparently she had told them, you can take the picture, but don't post it. So maybe it has a place in a hard copy photo album of documenting an experience. It just doesn't have a place online where anybody can do whatever they want with it and take it out of context.
Now, are there any other tips that you can give us about when we're posting on social media, what we should do? I mean, I just try to, for myself, when I post, I try to be kind. I try to think, okay, if I would want someone to say this about me, is it okay? You know, then it would be okay for me to say it about someone else. So I try to be as kind as I can be. But you'll see these ranting and raving and the carrying on the Facebook, and you wonder sometimes, wow, you know? So
yeah. Their inner trolls come out on Facebook.
I'm sorry?
Their inner trolls. People really can be cruel and unkind on social media. I don't know if it's they feel more at liberty to do so because it's virtual. People say some really hurtful things and they don't think before posting. And you nailed it with what you said. Really be considerate of what you do with other people. So the woman that posted this photo with the dildo really should have considered how it would impact the person that was in the photo. That is something you really want to get permission for. There was another person that approached me, a very young girl, 23 years old, and when she was 18, she had entered a bikini contest. And this photo was showing up when you Googled her name. Now, she looked perfectly beautiful. There was nothing wrong with the photo. But now that she's 23 and she's in the work area, the workforce, she doesn't want people to Google her name and see her in a bikini. It's not professional. So there's an innocent photo that when she was younger seemed like it was fine. She was happy to flaunt her gorgeous body. And now it actually makes her uncomfortable. So that was something that I helped her remove. But it just is a good example of how context changes.
And so that's very important. I have seen a lot of young people, you know, I've even done it myself, you know, you'll have a drink in your hand or something like that. And so you know, there are some pictures that you would like to have removed. And so you're able to do that?
It's not quite that straightforward. What I do for people these days, apart from just sharing problems and solutions to try to help people avoid making mistakes, is I help people remove personal information from the internet. And one of the things that happens with us these days is whether we like it or not, whether we use social media or we don't use social media, our personal data, such as our names, our birth dates, mother's maiden name, our birth certificates that carry a whole bunch of information, our family members, our address history, all of that information ends up on the internet from public records. And there are many circumstances where that poses a problem. I'm approached by victims of rape, by people that have been stalked, by law enforcement, by people that don't want anyone to know where they live or how to track them or who their family members are. That kind of information is pretty straightforward for me to remove. But because of what I do, I also have people approach me with very unique situations, like the girl with the bikini, like an attorney who had a client that took a picture of him in a compromising position that was showing up when you Googled his law firm's name. And depending on each unique situation, you may or may not be able to remove it. So every situation is different. I don't advertise that I can remove taboo pictures. Well, let me rephrase that. There are some new laws that protect people against revenge porn. So if there's a pornographic type picture, there are ways to remove that. But the type of information that is not removable is the type of information that might simply be embarrassing in a news article. So perhaps a police officer that reaches out to me because he has an article where he used excessive force. Journalists are not going to allow that to come down unless it's causing some extreme danger or hardship. And I don't mean like a financial hardship. So if there's a rape victim or somebody that's being stalked and there's an address mentioned in an article or something that could put them in explicit danger, then there may be a way to do something about it.
So would you suggest that we as individuals put our name in Google to see what comes up? I mean, how do we see that if there is anything negative out there about us?
Very, very important. I have myself and all of my family members with Google Alerts set up so that anytime my name or my kids' names or my husband's name is mentioned on the internet, I get alert to my mailbox. And then I can see if there's an action that I can take. For example, I started to get some really frightening alerts in my son's name, and what that alerted me to was that there was another person with the exact same name that was having problems with the law. It's good to have that sort of heads up. So if you're applying for a job or you're in a situation where you know other people are going to Google you and see information that's not yours, then at least you can give them a heads up. Hey, if you do look me up, just know that that person with the mugshot is not me, type thing.
Right.
So it's really important to know for all sorts of different reasons. And that's just one of many ways that you can find out information about yourself. On my site, I have articles that give much more detailed ways to look yourself up. There are background sites, there are background report sites that you can purchase or just look up basic general information about people. Ironically, those are the sites I remove the personal information from. I can't stand those sites. They're called data brokers, and they profit from taking this publicly available information and putting it out there for sale. That's how they make their money. They don't like to have the information removed, but in some states they have to do it by law, other states they don't. So that's another factor, is the protection in different parts of the United States. And I'm going to talk only United States for purposes of our discussion today, although
Okay.
a lot of the tips apply beyond that. But in terms of what I do, it applies more to the United States. It does extend internationally in some circumstances. For example, I've worked with actresses who really don't want their age to be known. And because they're public figures, that shows up on Wikipedia and on public sites all around the world. There are ways to do something about it. It's not easy. It's very time consuming. Again, each situation is very unique.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, on the Google alert, there's Twitter and there's all these other, LinkedIn, all these other sites, social media sites. So does a Google alert, does that bring everything in, anything that comes up?
In theory, I would never put all my eggs in one basket. So when I publish an article on my website with my name, you would think it would pick up every instance of it, and it doesn't. So it's just one of many other tools that you need to take advantage of.
That's great advice. Great advice.
A lot of people say, I'm not on Facebook because I don't want my information out there. And my answer is always the same thing. That's a really bad idea. It's really important to be on social media, because that way, if someone tags you, you will know about it so you can do something about it. If my friend that had this dildo picture posted was not on social media herself, she wouldn't have been tagged. It wouldn't have shown up in my feed. I wouldn't have been able to go back to her and say, hey, you may not really want this on Facebook, on social media. And by the way, one of the things I didn't mention is she was extremely grateful that I brought this to her attention and that she was able to do something about it. So it could have gone both ways. She could have been really angry at me and said, none of your business, it's what I want. But fortunately, she was happy that she was able to do something about it in this particular case. Although there are cases, I'm friends with a lot of my kids' friends on social media, and so I would observe quietly what other kids were saying in the context of my kids, or even out of their context of my kids. And so some of his good friends, one in particular, would post some very crazy things. And this started back when they were in high school. They've now graduated college. And so I contacted him privately and said, this is not a good thing. You're going to a very elite university, and this would not be acceptable with the university. And so the next thing you knew, he unfriended me, which was fine. I did what I thought was the right thing to do, and I also used it as a teaching experience for my son and said, hey, make sure you don't do anything like this. And also, you may want to chat to your friend privately and advise him against this kind of thing. And that's exactly what happened. And I'm now friends with that person again on Facebook. He asked many, many times. But at that stage of his life in high school, he didn't see the forest for the trees.
Well, I guess the lesson here is not necessarily to police it, but to be kind. And if you see something that's not appropriate or that you think could have long-term effects, you know, it is good to reach out to someone, whether you know them or not, and say, hey, this was posted. You might want to think twice. I used to watch my granddaughters as she was a teenager growing up and watch her Facebook. And my daughter would always say, you know, Mima's watching you. So she was always pretty good about it. But I'd say, you know, there was a couple pictures she'd post. I'd say, I think we need to think about those pictures. So.
Exactly. And of course, what's happened with the youngsters in Facebook is because the parents and the grandparents are on there, they've moved away from it. So the kids aren't using it as much. They're more on Snapchat, which is a danger in itself because people think that you post something and it disappears. But once again, you can screenshot the information and it can cause extreme damage and bullying, and all sorts of things can go wrong with any social media platform. So because you're not seeing it on Facebook doesn't mean it's not happening somewhere else.
Right.
There's a ton of different places which the kids use, which parents don't know about.
And it's true that once you put it out there, it's out there because, again, someone can take a picture of it, they can keep it, you know, you can come back. So it's really wise to watch what you do and try to treat other people kindly, you know, most certainly. Well, Haley, share with us your information, your contact information.
My website is whatisprivacy.com, and so you can go to www.what-is-privacy.com, and on that site you can access my blog and any article. You can look it up. You can go in the search bar if you have questions about privacy settings on social media or online dating. There's a whole assortment of subjects that I cover. There's a contact form if you want to reach out to me on email. And on my website, you can also link to me on social media and reach out to me that way. So I'm very accessible. The only thing that I will say is that I like to I pick and choose what I am accessible for. So there's certain information that's out there that I want you to have, and so you can reach me professionally very, very easily.
That's wonderful. Well, we have Haley Kaplan with us. We're going to close this show with Haley Kaplan, and this will end part 1. I hope you will join us for part 2. When we come back, we're going to talk about dating and the social media and how can that help us and how can it hurt us. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back. This is Cece with Going Solo. You are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network.